الله 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 نور السماوات والأرض. Lantern of light evolving together.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولقد أنزلنا إليكم آيات مبينات ومثلا من الذين خلوا من قبلكم وموعظة للمتقين. الله نور السماوات والأرض، مثل نوره كمشكاة فيها مصباح. المصباح في زجاجة، الزجاجة كأنها كوكب دري يوقد من شجرة مباركة زيتونة لا شرقية ولا غربية، يكاد زيتها يضيء ولو لم تمسسه نار، نور على نور، يهدي الله لنوره من يشاء، ويضرب الله الأمثال للناس، والله بكل شيء عليم. في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه، يسبح له فيها بالغدو والآصال، رجال لا تلهيهم تجارة ولا بيع عن ذكر الله وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة، يخافون يوما تتقلب فيه القلوب والأبصار، ليجزيهم الله أحسن ما عملوا ويزيدهم من فضله، والله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Assalamu alaikum. It's good to be with you today. Inshallah, today I wanted to speak with you just briefly about combining a little bit of some of the issues that are happening in the world today with some Islamic and some psychological perspective. And inshallah, we can use this opportunity to reflect and to better understand and process what is happening around us and within us as well. So it's very difficult to really to wrap our heads around what's happening and what has been happening for a while now. And it's become the norm, really, and that's what happens a lot of times with us as human beings, is that we adjust and we learn to cope with things, and sometimes we learn to forget because that is the way that we protect ourselves, is that we move on, and sometimes we cannot have the same kind of energy and fervor with which we handle issues, and we face or we advocate or we fight for certain things. So this can lead sometimes to feelings of guilt and feelings of helplessness and hopelessness, and maybe that's what we've been a lot of us have been feeling together. So let's talk just briefly about how to approach these feelings and how to make sense of them. So what we can say is that a lot of what's happening, or a big part of it actually, if not all of it, is not in our hands. Especially being where we are in the West, but even in other places, it's I think a shared feeling of helplessness, and with it comes maybe even feelings of anger and feelings of sadness, of grief, and it's the difference about this versus other issues. What's happening now is that it's continuous. It's every day. We see the same types of things every day, and it's we don't have time really to process and to understand and to see and to see really how to cope and how to grieve properly. Normally, when we grieve, it's after something ends, and we can think about what meaning we can take from it, and grieve in a healthy way and move forward. But when it's something that's continuous in this way, the question is, what do we do? So, because of the guilt that we talked about, we feel sometimes that we need to maybe overcompensate because we feel like we're not doing enough, and because of the feeling of helplessness that we talked about. And that can be a danger because sometimes we feel like there's never enough. There's never really enough that we feel we can be doing. So, for example, many of us watch the news now every day from morning to night, and more than just watching the news, we on social media, it's continuous, and it's built in obviously to the applications, is that it gives us what we want to see, what we have, based on the algorithm. So what happens is that we our pages are filled with this kind of news and this kind of trauma that's continuous. So so one way I think that we can approach it is that we limit how much we consume the news and how much we engage with it. And this is difficult because we feel like we want to do something and we should be doing something. But when we don't take care of ourselves in this way, then we will burn out and we will not be able to help in the ways that matter. So that's in terms of the feeling of guilt. In terms of the helplessness itself, so even if we share, even if we talk about it, some may say that that's not enough, or they may not feel like it's enough. But I think it's, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't burden us with more than what we can bear. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Allahu la yukallifu nafsan illa wus'aha. So we have to understand this. This is one of the lessons I think we can take in general about life, is that we have to understand our own capacity and understand and give ourselves, after understanding this capacity, give ourselves room to maneuver and to do just what we feel, and be content basically with what we're doing. So in this case, some of us may have more that we can do than others. And I think we should just be content with that as much as possible. And also not to forget that even the smallest things that we do can have an effect. So for example, the idea of dua is not a small thing. And even, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, even if it's, in our hearts, or even if it's just on our tongues, it still matters. It's still something. So we have to understand how much we can do in that aspect. The other side of this as well is the hopelessness that we can feel. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us numerous times not to despair, not to lose hope in Him. And we have to remind ourselves of this, because life is continuously throwing challenges at us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says clearly in the Quran multiple times that He will test us with something of fear, with something of loss of life, of loss of struggle financially, in other ways as well. And then He says, وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُم مُّصِيبَةٌ قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. So those, give glad tidings to those in those circumstances, those who are patient, who have sabr, who say that we are from God and to Him we will return. So these are valuable gems really that we have in our hands, that we can use to cope with what's happening, to give ourselves a sense of purpose, to give ourselves meaning, to give meaning to everything that is happening around us. I think for me personally, it's helpful to have everything, to understand everything within this context, within the context of this being a part of a test that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put on us. We're each tested in different ways. And I think it's good to remind ourselves and remind others around us that this is not, that everything that we go through is a test that is many times we can say is by design. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to test us. A lot of times I speak about resisting reality, resisting what we're facing. And I see it as, life is throwing something at us in one way and we're pushing back all the time. But maybe it can be more about acceptance, especially if you're not able to change. Accepting that sometimes maybe when you push back at something, when you resist, it creates more tension within you. It creates a lack of harmony, let's say. One of the ways I like to think about it is that if everything, so basically we are saying that we want everything in life to go our way, and we know that's not true. So sometimes when we take a step back and we think of things this way, we can have a more accurate perspective. We can just sit down and change how we think about things and just reframe. And this reframing is very powerful. It can really help us to take charge of situations, because especially when we don't have control. If you have control, if you can make real change, behavioral change, change on the ground, then of course that's something that's good and that's useful. But when we can't, then we don't have to give in to despair and to hopelessness and to feeling helpless. And I think using verses of the Quran, for example, remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our relationship with Him can play a big role in that. And especially, I talk a lot about this as well, is that the idea of control, sometimes it's similar to what we just talked about in terms of resisting. Sometimes we feel like we need everything to be under our control. But in reality, we have to accept that that's not our job, right? That's in Allah's hands. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us to have tawakkul on Him and to accept, what He has sent our way. And the real, I think, trick here and the balance that we want to strike is to take a step back in every situation and to ask ourselves, what is within our hands? What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expect us to try to do? And what does He want us to leave to Him? And that can be a hard balance to strike, because either we may feel, and upon reflecting, maybe when we reflect on these types of things, we may be surprised, and we may ask ourselves, does this mean I have, does it say something about my level of iman, for example, my level of faith, that I don't trust in God, that I don't have tawakkul on Him? Or does it say maybe, on the other hand, that or to just further elaborate on this point, that I'm trying to control everything and put everything in my hands? What does that also say about my tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So I think these concepts are very easy to talk about, but when we try to implement them, that's the real test in real life situations. Whatever life throws at us. As long as I think the biggest thing that helps me is to think that this is all within a plan, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees everything and He hears everything, and He knows what we go through and how vulnerable we are, and to remember that He is with us. I want to stress in closing that that we need to also take care of ourselves emotionally, and to take care of those around us, and not to belittle these kinds of these emotions that we notice maybe within ourselves or others. Because when we don't take care of ourselves, it will come out somehow. It will come out in other ways. It will come out in ways and at times when it's not really convenient, because we're not taking care of ourselves and helping to prevent and to maintain our good mental health, just as we maintain our physical health. So inshallah, we can keep this in mind, whether it's with this, the ongoing issues around the world, especially in places that really feel, close to us and that we connect with, whether it's in these ways or whether it's in other ways Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us. So inshallah, we can keep these in mind, and we can rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and inshallah take care of ourselves and others. Thank you, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.